Good week, everyone. Shavua Tov and good Chodesh. Chodesh Tov. This is the first day of the Jewish month of Iyar, even though in fact it's the last day of the month of Nisan. It's the last day of the month of Nisan. So if you didn't make Berachas Eilonos, you didn't make the blessing on the trees, the fruit trees that have blossoms on it, you can do it now. Anyone who doesn't know what that means, as I'll write to you, you can at least do it next year. Okay, so here we have, this week, we're talking about a beautiful Torah portion, Parshat Emor. It has a lot of commandments in it. If you thought last week's Torah portion had a lot of commandments, which it did, as this has even more commandments. But like they say, the more commandments, the better. Yagdil Torah v'yadir. Every commandment is like a diamond. The more diamonds, the better. This week's Torah portion actually has in it 63 commandments. Last week only had 51, 63 commandments. A lot of commandments about the Kohanim. Okay, so here we're going to talk about a very important topic in this week. As you know, or as you don't know, and you're going to know that Judaism is based on knowing God, connecting to God, making everybody know God, even the trees, the plants, the rocks. Everyone will know. Yodea kol pa'ol ki ata pa'alto, yatsur ki ata yatsarta. We pray on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur that everything that you make should realize that you're making it, and should announce. And the trees and the rocks and the rivers and this while singing the praises of God. King David talked about this extensively in the book of Psalms, because the Creator is creating everything. That's Judaism, getting to know the Creator. And there's a lot of aspects of the Creator. One of them is that He creates everything, creates me and you. That's the beginning point. Then there's a deeper thing, how God gave the Torah to the Jews. That's even deeper. Gave the Torah to the Jews so that we'll know what to do with His creation. And finally, the last stage is that the whole entire world will feel the Creator. And everyone will see and feel the incredible holiness of the Torah and of the commandments. And this feeling of the Creator, that's called holiness. Holiness. So what exactly is holiness? And that's what this is going to talk about. Holy. What does it mean, holy? Holy temple. What does it mean, holy temple? How can it be a temple that's holy? What does that mean? Every synagogue is holy, isn't it? Yeah, to a certain extent. They're all called temples. The commandments are called holy. We say, Asher Kidishanu b'mitzvot tov etzivanu. Kidishanu. Holy. What does the word holy mean? The word holy in Hebrew is the same word for marriage, getting married. Kiddushin. Kiddushin, same thing. Mekudeshet. To be holy. Mount Sinai, God, so to speak, He married us, got married to the Jewish people. That's all the book of the Song of Songs is about. Shir HaShirim. The wedding day of God. Okay, here we go. Kodesh, holy. What does it mean, holy? The purpose of this, of course, is not just an academic exercise, or that you can, be the hit of the party, win friends, influence people. I don't know if you won friends, but at least you'll influence people by understanding what Judaism says and what God expects from you. You're one of His creations. Don't hide. You're there you are. You are one of God's creations, whether you want to or not. That's it, right? Bal korcha atachai. Here you are. You're one of God's creations. So make the most of it. And there's a lot to be made. At least make something of it. Here we go. V'nikdashti b'toch bnei Yisrael. One of the sentences in this Torah. I will be made holy. I will v'nikdashti. I will be made holy. B'toch bnei Yisrael, within the Jewish people, etc. Now, it's no secret that God chose the Jewish people. It says in the Torah, everybody knows the Torah, except maybe for the Chinese or the Aborigines or somebody, but everybody knows the Torah. The Torah says clearly that God chose the Jewish people. What did he choose the Jewish people? Like I said before, he chose the Jewish people to reveal his holiness, to build a holy temple, to do the holy commandments, to learn the holy Torah. So what does this mean? What's going on over here? What are the Jewish people? What about everybody else? What about everybody? They're just sort of, not important. No, 100% not. Not only are the non-Jews important, the whole world is important. The whole entire world, animals, plants, inanimate things, everything is important. Human beings, all the rest of the world, all human beings are made in God's image. That's what it says in the Bible. Anyway, that's what it says. So when you're looking at a person, every person, you're looking at God's image. Do you see anything special? I hope God doesn't look like, a lot of the people we see. Okay, let's go. Let's talk about positive things. Here we go. V'nigdashti b'toch b'nei Yisrael, and I will be made holy among the Jewish people. Having to understand ma'u lashon toch. What does it mean? I will be made holy. Toch, among the Jewish people. Maybe I'll make this bigger a little bit. Can I do this? No. 1 minute. You don't want to win it. Oh, there we go. It's easier to read for me. Did that help? Yes. Okay, v'nigdashti b'toch b'nei Yisrael, and I will be made holy among the Jewish people. I will be made holy. Lahavin, what does it mean? Toch, what does it mean in the Jewish people? Gam tzarich lahavin, also have to understand Maim Razal, what the rabbis say. Be'inyan sheish gimel kitot malachim. There are 3 groups of angels. Kat echad omer kadosh. One group says holy. Kat echad, one of them says holy, holy. Kat echad, and a third group, Omer, Kadosh, Kodesh, Kodesh, 3 times holy. Kodesh, 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 Hashem Tzavaos, Maloi Kol Haaretz Kavod. Right? There's the vision of Ezekiel, the vision of Isaiah, saw angels. By the way, let me just throw in a parenthetical thing over here. Now in America, I see there's this big furor over UFOs. Unidentified flying object or unidentified aerial, what is it called? Phenomena or something like that. And everybody thought, they don't know, maybe they should be afraid. These angels are going to come and zork everybody and suck everybody else up and take your brains out and things like that. Well, the fact of the matter is that we have something much, much greater than these Abamim, these whatever, not Abamim, that's Hebrew, these UFOs and people from Mars or wherever they're from. And that is the angels. The angels are much greater than, and these things are proved. So it says in the Bible. There's the angels that talk to Abraham, angels that destroyed the city of Sodom and Gomorrah, angels. Like it says in the Gomorrah, means to say Shakata, the first group, they say 1 time holy. The second group, they say 2 times holy. The third group, they say 3 times holy. What is this talking about? Kamosha Anomin, like we say. What's greater than the angels, by the way? The Jews. The Jews are superior to the angels if the Jews do what God wants. That's what we don't understand. We have to appreciate a little bit what Jews are. Every Jew is the son of God. There's a whole religion, 2 billion people, something like that believe in some guy that says he's the son of God, which is a pretty powerful thing, son of God. And the fact of the matter is he is the son of God. Every Jew is the son of God. He didn't act like it, but he certainly, got a big draw out of it, pretty popular. Like we say, we have to understand what it says in Nazir also. So we're learning this to understand what we are, who we are. So let's understand, first of all, what the angels are. Also, it says in the Gemara, in Nazir is a Jew that takes upon himself a vow of abstinence from wine and from defiling himself to a dead person, and he also doesn't cut his hair. Like it says, Kodesh, like it says, Kodesh, yeah, Godel Pera. It says that He will be holy. His hair will be holy. What does that mean? Angels, okay. Why would his hair? What's going on? Because if it says Serafim Omdim and Malo, it says that there's angels, the burning angels. How do they call it in English? The flames standing above him. We have to understand how can it possibly be that they should be above the Shekhinah. It says that these angels are standing above God. How can it be the angels are standing above God? A second ago, they were saying the angels are screaming out that God is holy and he's far away from them. And now they're saying they're standing above God. What's going on? So what does it mean holy? And what does it mean God is that God will be holy inside of us? What does it mean holy? And what does it mean that the angels are standing above God? Hine Kasiv, it said that there'll be a lot of topics until we get to put it all together. Hine Kasiv, it is written, Imcha Mokar Chaim. It says that by God, the source of life is with you. Why doesn't it say you, God, are the source of life? Why does it say the source of life is with you? Now we're going to get into zeroing in on what does it mean holy. Yuvin, we can understand all these questions, Bahaktim, first of all, to understand what does it mean holy? Ine, behold, Kodesh, what does it mean holy? Pirushu, muvdal, separated, unique. I know like it says, Ani Hashem lo sheniti, like it says, I am God, I never changed. Shein shum shinoi etzelo, there's no change by God. That's why it says a man gets married to a woman, that's called Kiddushin. Kiddushin means he singles her out. She's different now from everybody else. She's married to him. No one else is married to him. Just one moment. Because if it says, but Yuvan said we can understand by understand what does it mean Kodesh? Behold, why doesn't this come up? One second. There we go. Okay, good. Yuvan said called the hektim lahavim. Kodesh. Hine, behold, Kodesh. What does it mean? Kodesh. Kodesh means moved, separated. Hainu, namely, Kamosh Katuv, as it is written. Ani Hashem lo sheniti. I am God. I never changed. Okay, there's nothing in the world that doesn't change. Everything changes. Everything is constantly in change. Even the atoms are in change. Everything is moving, living, growing, dying, rotting. Everything is changing except for God. God doesn't change. There's no change by God at all. We can't even imagine what a thing like this is. I'm not a big scientist, but they tried to get to this thing of absolute zero, where there's no motion whatsoever. I don't think it's possible. I don't know. God did not change before he created the world and after he created the world. Kalomar, like it says, God did not change. Now just think about this one instant. I mean, we Jewish people believe that God creates the world, created the world, right? And the Hasidim point out that this implies also that God creates the world all the time. Time itself is a creation. And time itself is, we can't say God creates time all the time. There is no time without God creating it. So everything that exists in the world, including the galaxies and the angels and whatever you think is real, is being created by God. Everything is being created by God. You think there's such a thing as angels? They're created by God. There's such a thing as heaven, created. Everything that exists is created by God. You're right, there are angels and there is heaven and there are all these things. They're all just creations. God created, you figure why? He has to expend a lot of energy in order to create. None of these creating it all the time. It must be expended. He says, no. Not only God does not expend any energy, he doesn't change at all. So how does he create everything? He doesn't change. I mean, he must do something, doesn't it? We'll see this later on. Yeah, God speaks. Also, speaking takes a little energy, doesn't it? This is not God's speech. Let's understand this. God is so infinitely real. The trick of the whole thing is that God is so infinitely real, and this world is so infinitely not real. The only reason it's here is because God is creating it, and that makes it really real. But without God creating it, the world is totally zero, nothing, less than zero. But Rotzalomar means to say, She'en Shum Shina, there's no change in whatsoever in God, Chas v'Shalom, God forbid. Etzlo, by God, God is not one of the creations. He's not one of the things. He's not a big thing. Like we said before, God doesn't really exist. He creates all existence. His existence is infinitely more real than any existence that there is, but he creates all existence, all the details he's created. Nevertheless, God does not change. His reality is so infinitely real that it never changes. It's not relevant to change. It's too real. There's nowhere for it to go, if you want to call it. That doesn't mean that he doesn't answer our prayers. God is infinitely big, but he's also infinitely close to us, creates us. So there's nothing like that. That's what it means holy, nothing like God. There's no change, or any effect, God forbid, by him. From when God created the world. And when did God create the world? Right now. Like it says, Ani Rishon, Ani Achron. I am the first, I am the last. I know Lefi, because Shehu moved on Mikala Olamot. God is totally separate from any creation, any world. Hainu Shehiyoto Mechaya Mehavet, the fact that God enlivens and that he creates all the worlds. Enu Kamosha Nefesh, it's not like the soul enlivens the body. Shemahuta Nefesh, that the soul is really inside of the body to enliven it. Hari Nitfas mamish, that the soul is really grabbed inside of the body. The mitchalek achayut, and the life from the soul is divided up. A mitpashet, which draws out from the soul into the body. Generally speaking, there's three levels. There's what's called the life force, which is in the brain and the head. Then there's the life force, which is in the body, the heart. And then there's the life force, which is in the feet. Sometimes that's called the liver. Let's just take the example, the life force, which is in your head, in your brain, Nalioter, is much greater than the life force which is in your body, right? You can make a heart transplant. You can't make a brain transplant. Kanira Bechus, like we see clearly, Shabarosh, that in the head, who call Panemius, Achayas, is all the life. The Hainu, Koach, HaMachshava, the power of thought, the Seichel, and awareness, the Hachushim, and all of your senses, Hamaulim, the highest senses, for instance, in your face, seeing, hearing, smelling, speaking, tasting, and the life force which is in your body. This is a little bit different. No, we're saying God is not like this, right? God is not like this. The soul is in the body, the soul is divided. There's a different life force that goes to the brain, different life force that goes to the arms. We're going to say in the second paragraph that God does divide himself. But first of all, we'll talk about that when we get to it. That in the heart, in the body, there is the emotions in the heart. Shehem lamata, they are below the intellect. Animals also have emotions. And also the power of action in your hands. This is below the feeling which is in your head and your mind and your heart. And after that, we have the feet. The feet, that's the lowest. Right? So in general, the Rebbe divides it into three: the head, the body with the hands together, and your feet. The feet are the lowest. That's the power, but it's still my feet. It's me. Calls all this is because Shamoach Shabarosh, that the brain in the head, hey makablim techila, they receive first life from this inner penimiut yoter, a deeper type of life, a more, how do you want to call it, personal type of life. Hainu penimius and nefesh, from the inside of the soul, and then afterwards the life force goes down a little bit low in the head, comes into the lower than the head, and that comes down to the body. And then after that, the chayash b'guf, the power in the body, this is lower level than the head. And also in the body, there's the feet. Behold, that the life force which comes from your soul, unlike God, God creates everything all the time, the same thing, same God, and it doesn't change at all, which is not the case. The soul is divided in the body, and the soul is affected by the body. The soul is divided into three divisions. Hanal, Rosh, Kuf, Raglaim. Generally speaking, head, body, and feet. You can divide it other ways also. There is in each and every one of the limbs, pratim, its details, kanoda. So each limb is a little bit different from every other limb, but in general, that's what there is. There's head, body, and heart. Head, body, and feet, I'm sorry. But Kalal in general, Haim, Gimel, Bechinas Hanal. There are these three levels, right? Sight is different than smell. Smell is different than speech. But in general, we can generalize them in head, body, and feet. Shina Bechiniosam, and the difference in their level, Humitzad Shina Gilui Chayas, is because of the different life force which is revealed in them from the soul. That in the head there's more life, and etc. That it comes out that the soul is nitfases, the soul is actually grabbed and clothed in the vessels of the body. A different level of soul is in your brain than is in your heart, than is in your legs. And therefore, the life is divided nitfas baguf lefi mahusa kelim, according to the vessels of the body, because the vessels of the brain are more refined than of the body, than the hands. Therefore, the brain can receive a higher type of life. Right? Like a television can get television waves, and a radio doesn't get television waves. You can't see anything on television. On a radio, can't see anything. It's only a vessel for radio waves, for sound. Okay, that's how the soul is in the body. No, God is something like that, right? Says wrong. We'll learn in the next paragraph that it is right. But okay, for our purposes here, wrong. No, even though it's true, the soul is very mysterious, and the soul is concealed, and nobody has seen a soul. You don't know, everybody has a soul, and nobody has any idea what it is. Some people even deny that there is such a thing. There is such a thing. There's no proof that there's a soul. Some people came and say, "Oh, I saw it. I saw the white light, and I saw the tunnel on my body, and this, and that. My soul floated out." Okay, that's your experience, That's what you experience. People take drugs; they have the same experience. Is there really a soul or not? Who knows? But nevertheless, everybody feels there's something there. What about God? Oh, that's really concealed. That's really concealed. Who says God exists? A soul, you can say it's like the batteries that come along with with the toy. Yeah, it comes along with it. There's a lot of people that say that. There's a lot of scientists that say like that, right? That say that there's no such thing as a soul. That's okay. That's what they want to believe. That's okay, and that's what they believe. That there's no soul. Why? Because there's no instruments that can measure the soul, that can prove the soul. There's pictures of the soul. There's any sort of physical evidence, how do you say, that can be presented in court that there's such a thing as a soul. Can't have a soul. But on the other hand, we say we believe there's a soul, and that's not even Judaism. That's not just there's a soul. So what? Right? There's a soul. Reincarnation of souls, a movement of souls, but that's got nothing to do with what's right and what's wrong, what God wants and what He doesn't want. There's just such a thing. But God is even much more concealed than the soul is. That which God conceals, that which God creates and enlivens the world, that which God enlivens the worlds, right? It's not like a soul enlivening the body. Because God is not divided up. God forbid. The same God that's creating a rock is creating angels. It's not relevant by God to say Rosh Sof, that there's a top of God and a middle of God and a middle. Kihu Rishon v'hu Acharon. God is the beginning, He's the end. Hainu lefishu hu yisbrich enu mislabish kolol. He's not at all in the worlds. So who are we praying to? If the God is in the world, we'll get to that. Don't worry. The low kamosha neshama, not like the soul is in the body. Who gave the Torah? Okay, we'll see. Nevertheless, we have to understand that's what it means holy. When we're praying to God, don't think that you're praying to some really, really big, super whole, whatever it is, angel. It's not so. God is not a thing. He's not an angel. He's not big. You can't measure him according to the world. He's not closer to the upper worlds than the lower worlds. Everything to him is just equal creation. And that same God is creating you and me. But of course, you can make the mistake and say, listen, I mean, good, he's creating us, but he certainly doesn't care so high. That's not so. He does care. We'll see in a moment. Because we're talking about the God of the Jews. We're talking about because Cain, that's God. That's the real God. This is the message that Abraham is bringing to the world. That's what the message that Abraham passed on to the Jewish people to bring to the world. But Liot Cain, because it's so, Ein Shayach Lo, it's not relevant by God. His chalkos, any sort of life force, Shehu Mahave Olamos, that he's creating the world, his chalkos hu mitzad, his labshus, that in order to divide up, God has to be, so to speak, limit himself and be enclosed. Like it says, the lefisha kliya mochin, because we said that because the brain is a higher matter than the body, therefore there's a higher level of godliness in it. This is only in the type of life which is in the vessels of the world, can you say that, which is not the case by God himself. Because God is enlivening all the worlds and creating all the worlds. This is not by means of being enclosed inside of them, because the world, God is not a thing like the soul is a thing, not even an invisible thing. Therefore, lo shayach, it's not relevant by God that he can be divided at all. So in other words, God is so infinitely real. We have absolutely no conception of what God's reality is. But one little tiny thing we do know about God is that he's creating everything. And that there's no such thing in the world. There's no example, even a vague example of creation. In the world, all we can see is taking one thing and making it another thing. You take matter, put it into energy, take spirit and make it into matter, take matter, make it into spirit, whatever it is. But there's no such thing as nothing in this world. And we say that before the world was created, before time was created, time began 5,782 years ago, before time existed, before anything existed, before, right, it was the pure existence of God. And this creation of the world is made from, what's the building block of the world? Nothing. So there's no possible way you can make nothing, no matter how many nothings you have, you can't make something. It's like having a check with 1,000,000 zeros on it. Go to the bank, you don't get any money. But there has to be some one there somewhere. Where does that one come from, right? It can come from somewhere else, but by God, there was no one. So what we're trying to say is not that God is not real. He's not real like what we think is real. God is infinitely more real. In fact, we're not real. But because God is creating us, so we are real. That's why it's so important to do what it says in the Torah. When you do something that says in the Torah, so then you're real. Jew, non-Jew. The main thing is the life force which comes from God, to enliven the worlds. But God does not clothe himself in the worlds. So how does God keep everything going? How is the world here if it's really nothing? What's the answer? Everything is a miracle. You are a miracle. I am a miracle. Everything in the miracles, human beings especially, are miracles. Everything you say is wondrous. That's the thing of Moshiach, is to make us see this. That's what it means. Pirush ve'inyan kadosh. That's what it means. Holy. Hainu shehu yisbarech, the God. Kodesh moved is holy and removed from the worlds. Even though the God enlivens them, and He enlivens them, and He creates them, from nothing. Im calls in, nevertheless, God is not in the world at all. You cannot see any sign of God in the world. The only little bit of a sign you can see is that we have souls, and our souls are this mysterious spiritual thing that it keeps us alive, right? So that's a little bit showing that maybe there's something that we don't know about. Maybe, not saying that there is. There's genius philosophers, genius scientists, right, that say there's absolutely no God, soul, spirit, nothing. Maybe soul, there's what's called paranormal activities, right? Well, therefore, ain't shum shinoi vispalos, that's low, there's no change by God at all. Me'abriya, from the creation, which is not the case, the soul. The soul is affected by what happens in the body, because the soul is grabbed in the body, so the soul is affected by the body. Right? So God is not affected by the world, right? Not exactly. Ready? Don't think we can put God in a box. Now I got to figure it out. God is infinite. He's above the worlds. He's far away. And that settles that. We can put it in the dictionary. That's where God is. Where is God's address? Somewhere else. Says the Rebbe, that's not so. We have to understand, Shari Abriya, so almost the creation of the world, also has different levels. In fact, it has infinite levels. If you do it like it's known, Ishtalshlos almost that's written in all these Kabbalistic books that talk about the chain of the worlds, Gavoa Me'al Gavoa, higher and higher. Like what we just finished saying about these angels. There's one angel that says holy, and a higher level says holy, holy. Lower level, actually, holy, holy. Also, even in this physical world, I don't see we can see there's all sorts of different levels of life. There's inanimate, mineral, plant, animal, human. What do you want to say? There's no difference. A rock is the same thing as a human being. God is creating all these things. There must be some sort of different godliness that's in a human being that's in a rock. Has to be. Also, in general, there's general, also the life force in the world is also in three general levels, like it says in the prophecy of Isaiah, for my honor, barati v'yatzarti v'atafsisi. There's my honor, that's considered to be the world of Atzilut, Bria, Yetzira, and Asiya. These are the three worlds, general worlds. And generally, there's also in each one of these worlds, there's also many, many different levels. These also, there's different nicknames for these. This is called the upper heaven, Gan Eden Elyon, Gan Eden Tachton, Olam Hazeh. The upper heaven, that's the word of Bria, it says, the dimension of Bria, Yetzira. So we see God is divided. He is divided in the worlds. This is just the same thing. The worlds are the same thing as the different levels of life in the body. Body is also in general, like we said, we can also divide it into three levels. Head, body, and feet. Also the same thing, this physical world. It says the earth is Hadom Ragli. It says the earth in Psalms, the earth is my footstool. Gan Eden Tachton, the lower level of heaven. This is like the body, that there is the emotions of God. That's where the angels are. And also it's known that she's fearing that the six aspects of God's emotions, they are in the world of Yetzirah. That's what's called the world of Yetzirah. That's called the lower heaven. Hainu Shisham, that there is the revelation of God's emotions. Chesed, that's where all these angels are. The Michael is kindness, and Gabriel is power. Begam Mochin Chabad, and there's a certain amount of intellect which is in these emotions. That's the lower heaven. And then there's the upper heaven. The upper heaven, there is the reveal of Chabad, Atzmo. Then there's revelation of God's, what's called his wisdom, his understanding. God's intellect of Ein Sof is revealed in the world of Bria. That's souls. That's where the souls are. The souls are sitting there and they're getting pleasure from the ray of God. They're much like a head. Shabo Mishkana Seichel. That is like the intellect. If so, we see that just like the soul fills the body, as God fills the world. So what are we saying over here? That God is not affected. Here we see that he is affected. If so, move on. It's understood that the life force which is drawn from God in the worlds also is divided betocham the chilukim madregas, the different levels, just like it is the life which is in the soul and the body. And this division is drawn mitzad islabshus v'kelim, and it comes into vessels. If so, near it seems to be that hachayos, the life force which comes from God, blessed be He, Gam Kain also mislabish betocham, is enclosed in the worlds. V'kein b'nim sabarazal behedin, it's also found in the teachings of the rabbis clearly. Shedimu amshachas achayos mimenu, that there is found the life force from God to the worlds in an order, that the rabbis also compare God enlivening the world to the soul and the body. Like the rabbis say, just like God fills the world, also the soul fills the body. It says we're created in the image of God, so God must have some sort of image, right? That's what it says. I don't know. Here it says, no, God doesn't have any image. Or Midrash Tilim, in a Midrash on the book of Psalms, it says, Berchi Nafshi, Borchi Nafshi, it says, my soul should bless God. Just like the body, just like the soul fills the body, also God fills the world. So the same way God fills the world, the soul fills the body. The same way the soul fills the body, God fills the world. Hari Inyan Shanashama, this idea that the soul fills the body, this is grabbing his labshus with tefisa mamish. It's really in the body. In kain, if so, madamim kain inyan his labshus achayos. If so, we are comparing the life in the world, in the world, to the soul. But this is exactly the opposite of what we just finished saying in the first paragraph. Mashan Yisrael, to who Yisrael, that God Kodesh, He's holy and moved on, and He's separate from the worlds. Michayat olam. Shalom these labshus. Chas v'shalom. God forbid to say that God is in the world, and then we're saying that God is in the world. So where's the God forbid? What's so wrong about it? We just finished saying it. In fact, this is even more. This is a big general principle in the Torah, like it's known. That God grabs all the worlds, and nothing can possibly grab Him. So we have two complete opposites. According to the Torah, that God does not fill the world. The world is completely a different reality. It's not even real compared to God. God is not changed by the world. God is not clothed in the world. The world, no way. God forbid. And here we're saying God is in the world, and God is changed by the world, and God is clothed in the world, and the world is vessels from God, and nothing enlivens the world except for God. So what's going on? Okay, now this is the message of the Jews to the world. The whole world, every creation should worship only her creator. So what is this creator? Is it totally outside of the world? Something that we can never comprehend in any way? Or is it in the world and He's creating each one of us individually, and we have to try to comprehend it? There certainly is a type of life which is in the worlds on the inside, and it is divided into different levels, just like the life of the soul and the body. Certainly there is from God. But close this whole level of life, which is in the worlds, this is what's called the ray of God's presence alone. Or in the Bible, it's called God's word. Ziv Davka, just like a little ray, like taking a picture of somebody, they're taking a picture of that picture, and then a picture of the picture, and a picture of the picture. So it's like if you have a check for $1 million, and you take a picture of the check, and you take a picture of that picture, and a picture, and you take it to the bank. Say, I'd like you to cash this check, please. What are you talking about? Says, here, look at this picture. Says, okay, listen, this picture proves that there is such a thing. It's a picture of something. There is such a check, but this is not the original check. We can't cash a picture of a check. Right? Just a picture means nothing. You have to prove, you have to bring the original, And then I can, but on the other hand, I'm not doubting you that there is such a thing as this check. I'm not doubting, but I just can't, I'm not doubting you 100%. I'm doubting you 90%, 99%. But there is something, same thing. God creates the world. What is it? It's like a picture of a picture of a picture of a picture, billions and billions of pictures of God, so to speak. And each one is a little less clear than the previous one. Pretty poor example, but that's something like that. This is also called, this life force which creates the world is just a ray of godliness. This is called godliness, which mimale kalmin, which fills the world. Mimale kalmin, Kabbalistic term, how God fills the worlds. Pirish, that the life force which has gone from God, lislavish betochias olamas, to be in the worlds. It is just a ray of godliness alone from the Shekhinah. On the other hand, it is the Shekhinah. That this ray of godliness, this is drawn to create the world. This is divided according to each world, according to its level. In the upper heaven, the lower heaven, the physical world. This ray, which is what's called Mimali Kalmim, how God fills all the worlds, Huanikra Alma Disgalia. This is what's called the revealed aspect of God in the book, the Zohar. Batam is because that's what it means. That's what it means that man is made in the image of God. We're talking about this Mimali Kalmim, how God fills the worlds. And that's what it says, from my flesh I can grasp God. I think Job said this. From my flesh I can grasp God. Echazeh mamash, I can see godliness from my flesh, as just like I'm flesh, just like I am seeing something clear. How can you see God? From your own self. And this is what we're going to talk about, God willing, tomorrow. Tune in. And now we're going to learn the Sikha of the Rebbe. Just one moment. Now we are going to learn a Sikha, a speech which the Lubavitcher Rebbe gave in 1991, and is a continuation of what we learned last time. The Rebbe is trying to pound it into our consciousness and into our hearts, the importance and the imminence. Imminence, you know what imminence means? I don't know if I know what it means, but imminence means that the immediate arrival, the closeness of the redemption, how it's supposed to happen right now, immediately. Immediately supposed to happen right now, even though that it's something which is totally not in our agenda. In our agenda, who cares? You have to take the kids to school and you have to make a living, you have to be at work in time, and you have to, make sure you have your keys and your car is working, and all these other things you have. And the coming of the Moshiach is very nice, and maybe for the rabbis who haven't got anything to do. They sit in synagogue all day and they learn Torah. And so in their spare time, they think, hey, what about Moshiach? Those people, they should be thinking about Moshiach, or what they can think about whatever they want to, because they're not really that practical anyway. So let them think about Moshiach, but not us real, normal, practical people. That's what the Rebbe is trying to pound into our minds, into our hearts, and also even to the hearts of the people who sit around and learn all Torah all the time. How important, how desperately vital and important it is that Mashiach should be here. And it should be like something like a person underwater, he just wants to get out. That's sort of a negative way, but I mean, the world is pretty bad the way it is, and its solution is very close and very good. And no one has any idea how good we really are. Every human being, how incredibly good and I say rich every human being is inside. Everyone, without exception. How potentially good and rich But there's this whole religion in the world based on everybody is bad, and everybody's going to go to hell unless you believe this you have to believe in this person, something like that. If you're going to burn, you're going to be doomed. He came to save everyone. Save everybody from what? What are you talking about? Everyone is basically good. It's just you have to bring out the good. You have to bring out this good. And bringing out the good means doing what God wants. And what God wants for the non-Jews is the 7 Noahide commandments. And even though these things seem to be pretty mundane, but if there is no more murder, licentiousness, perversions, whatever they want to call it, decadence, stealing, falsehood in the world, or more idolatry in the world, then the world will become, then God will do his part. And he wants to do it. It's there. Then we reveal the inside good inside of us as God will reveal inside good inside of him. Ooh, that's going to be something amazing. Okay, so now the Rebbe is trying to tell us how to do it. We've been steeped in, how do you say, darkness and ignorance. We've been steeped in darkness and ignorance and idolatry and falsehood and fear, so long that we don't think there's anything else. I think that's the way the world is, but it's not so. It's not so. One of the main things of Moshiach is that all of the nations, all of the people, they'll drop all the religions. There won't be any more religions anymore. People won't be concerned about going to heaven and hell and hell and heaven, and everybody will have to believe like me. People will only be concerned with one thing: doing what God wants and revealing the good which is concealed inside of us. And there is good inside of us. And that's the essence of the world. We're all creations of God, and God is good. What about people that don't want to do this? So they will want to. They'll be educated. No, who wants to kill themselves? There'll be certain people that they can't, by them, it's better to burn in hell than to live in a world where the Jews and the God of the Jews is the dominant factor. They would rather die, right? The SS and those people, right? They would much rather not be alive than to live in a world where the God of Israel is the ruler, the creator of the world. A good world. They don't want a good world. Okay, those people will be happy not to be alive, but that's the very, very, very big minority. Okay, how do we bring this future redemption? So where we go, it says that all we have to do is positive things. Do positive things, right? Know that there is positive what to do. Do positive things. The bad things will fall. At least you'll know that there's something positive to stop doing the bad things. Here we go. Yes, okay. In the continuation of what we said before, the Geula is the letters of Gola. But there's just an additional Aleph. Gola means exile. And by adding one letter, the letter Aleph, as that transforms the whole thing to redemption. So the Rebbe is trying to tell us, be positive, do positive things. And mitbatet et hatochen shel hageula yoter mishar hadalet hey lashanos, then a redemption. Remember we said that in the Torah portion, the second Torah portion in the book of Exodus is called Va'era. And there it has, God says, I'm going to take you out of Egypt, I'll redeem you, I'll let you out, I'll free you, all this. Hotzeti, Hitzalti, Goalti, Lakachti. God says, I will take, it's all these different languages of redemption, Heveti. And from all these different 5 expressions of redemption, the expression which is always used is only one of them, Geula. And the word Geula, strangely, has 4 letters of exile in it. Gimel, Vav, Lamed, Hey, that's exile. And Aleph is the whole thing that changes the whole thing around, flips it all around. It turns on the lights. The word Aleph also means or. Aleph is light. Zui, this is the Geula, the calling Yaniyat Geulas. This is how we will redeem everything in the exile. Geula lo sholelet, because the future redemption does not negate everything we did in exile. Exactly the opposite. It elevates everything we did in the exile. What does it mean, exile? That there's a big pressure to get depressed, to fall into lust, to fall into anger, to be aggressive, right? To be addicted, to be fooled to death. By just revealing a little bit of truth, a little bit of aleph, emes is also aleph, into the golos, into the exile, is by means of this, everything just changes. The lights go on, suddenly you realize, hey, what am I doing? Right? All you have to do is bring the aleph, thinking about God in the Jewish way, that God is the creator of the world. The Gola, Shakodesh Baruch Hu, the God, he's the Baal Habayit, he's the king. He's the conductor of everything that's in the world, also in exile. If so, we take the aleph and put it into exile, that elevates it. And number two, and maybe more important, the whole redemption is made by means of what we do in the exile. There had to be an exile. We had to work with it. It's almost like saying a beautiful pot or whatever it is, a ming vase or something. It's made from clay. What do you have to have clay for? Right? Clay just makes your house dirty. You can't eat it. You can't do anything with this clay with mud in it. Get it out of the house. It just gets out of the way. But by using this clay properly, you make a beautiful vase. The thing could be worth $1 million, who knows how much. The same thing, the whole work, gullus, we have to work on it. That's like the clay. We have to work on it. It's dirty, it's messy, it's this, but we have to work with it. By working properly, is that puts the aleph, the man works with it. Aleph is also Adam, man. But the aleph in it, benuya rov otiot, that the galut is made from the majority of the letters of redemption is the word exile. Just like this Ming vase that's worth $2 million. I'm not an expert, you can see it in Ming vases, but they're worth a lot of money. What is 99% of this Ming vase, 98%, whatever it is? For sure, 80% of that Ming vase is just mud. It's just clay. And the rest is pictures and drawings, and the person puts this in, right? The Otiot Gola. And what are the pictures and the drawings on? That's also from different plants and colors and things like that. That's also, if it stains your garments, you can't get it out. But if you use it all properly, then it comes out to something very beautiful. All you have to do is put in the aleph into it. The word aleph is all from the word ometz, which means courage. Aleph also is from the word emunah, faith. So therefore, we're not here to destroy the world or the world, get out of the world, go to heaven, and there won't be any more world anymore. Right? We're not here to conquer the world or to whatever it is what's the word they have? Use the word, bleed the world. We're here just to elevate the world, that the world should become meaningful. Let's talk a little bit about this. Adding the service of the Jewish people that have to do when they are right before the redemption. Beit hachidush, the novelty of the future redemption, which that means putting this aleph into exile and to these two things we said before, and namely that we elevate the exile and that we use the exile in order to bring the redemption. Ro'im, we can see miyad immediately. The geula rishon, we can see immediately in the example which is given in the Torah, going out of Egypt. Geula. It's the holiday we just finished now. One second. There we go. So let's take a look at the only example of redemption that we have, and that is going out of Egypt. Right, that's the basis of Judaism. This big miracle called going out of Egypt. Hageula The redemption is expressed in the fact, that in addition to the fact that all the Jewish people left Egypt, it says our children, our elders, our sons, our daughters will be shlemos, and they all went out in kol chafseim with all their properties, like it says kaspam bazav itam. They also took and they redeemed with them, and they redeemed everything that was in the exile. Smolot. It says that they took from Egypt vessels of silver, gold, and garments. It says the garments were worth more than the silver and the gold. That they emptied out Egypt. They made it like a silo that hasn't got any wheat in it, and like a fish pond that is empty of fish. And also, Erev Rav Aloitam, there was also a lot of Egyptians that also joined them. Egyptians that they wanted to join the Jewish people. It was a big mistake to take them, but nevertheless, they also went out. Zotamer, this means that the future redemption, the whole idea of redemption, Geula, was not that just the Jews escaped, right? Like escaping from some prison. They were lucky to get out with their garments. Ela Geula Gam the Mitzrayim, but they took out Egypt itself. They took out from Egypt. They took all of the properties and all the riches of Egypt. They took out by means of Achnasas v'Gilei Aleph, because God revealed Himself. B'inyani Agolos, as soon as God revealed Himself there, that's it. Tachlitam shebishvilim nivro al yidei HaKodesh Baruch Hu. The reason that all these things in the world, the gold and the silver of the Egyptians, why was it created? In order, God created it. Why? In order, God created it and He gave it to the Egyptians. Why? In order that the Jewish people, they should use it for holy purposes, to build the temple, whatever. And afterwards, it said the Jewish people went out with the tremendous riches. Until, if you think about it, it doesn't make any sense. What did the Jews have to take out riches for? They were in the desert. What could they buy? There was no stores. They didn't have any clothes to buy, no cars. They didn't have to buy trips to the moon or to wherever they wanted to do. Right? Buy a new television set or something like that. What did they need? They needed absolutely nothing in the desert. Their food was provided by God. Their water was provided. The protection was provided by God. They got tremendous pleasure from learning the Torah. They didn't need anything. What did they have to take all the gold and the silver with them for? So the answer is that whatever they used the gold and silver for was only to serve the Creator. And what did the Egyptians use it for? Only for selfish, decadent purposes, idolatrous purposes. And not only did they take out the possessions of the Egyptians, they took out the Egyptians themselves. There was a large group of Egyptians, the Erev Rav, the mixed multitude that came out with the Jews. And even more, Malamed, it says in She'ishilu and Bal Korcham, it says that the Egyptians forced the Jews to take the things. Bal Korcham the Israel. The Egyptians forced the Jews to take the money. You can say, wow, these Jews, come on, you can see that all the Jews think about is money. The Jews worked there for 210 years at hard labor, day and night, nonstop, right? Men, women, everybody worked, working, slaving, everybody. Multiply that, you had at least 600,000 men. According to some opinion, that 600,000, that was only 1/5 of the number. Some people say only 1/50th, and there's one opinion only 1/500. In other words, all these hundreds of thousands, millions, whatever, billions of people were all working day and night for 210 years, building who knows what, the sphinxes or whatever they were doing. So I think that they deserve some sort of reparations a little bit, right? So all the money that was given to the Jews is nowhere near as much as what is owed to them. 4 generations. Okay. In any case, the Jewish people, but on the other hand, you can ask the other question the other way around. If the Jews are really God's children and God loves them so much, so give them the money. What's the big problem? Give them the guilt. And that's it. What do you have to? They have to suffer in Egypt for so long? He says, no, they had to take out Egyptian money. They had to be in exile. Exile was an essential part of the redemption. Exile was important. The Shema Mitzrayim, why is it that the Egyptians had to push the Jews and give the Jews all this money? That's the opposite of the nature of a person. The Jews were leaving. The Egyptians once said, no, please, take my gold, take my silver. Right? Why? The Jews were leaving. Let them leave and keep your silver by yourself. It says it's a commandment also, V'yishalu ish me'Yisraelu. Nemar, it says to the Jewish people, not to the Egyptians. That what it says that the Jews had to force the Egyptians. So the Jews had to force them. So anything that the Egyptians could hide or withhold, so they withheld. What do they have to run after the Jews? Say, please, please take this vessel. There was no commandment to do it. There was no necessity for them to do it. After God broke Egypt by means of the 10 plagues, Lama Pitom, all of a sudden came the Egyptians and they forced the Jews to take this money. It says that it says, what does it say in the Torah? That God put the Jews in the favor of the Egyptians. Not that the Egyptians were afraid of the Jews. The Egyptians liked the Jews. They liked the Jews. It says in the Torah that God put favor of the Jewish people in the eyes of the Egyptians, and they forced them to take all this money. Ella, but Mekivan. So what's the answer? Since that the future redemption, the whole idea of Geula means that it's redeeming, it's elevating Egypt itself. It's elevating the exile. Atzma al yadei hakara, by means of recognition that God is the King of the world, and He leads the world, He conducts the world. Mitzrayim and the Egyptians, because they were wise people, a lot of them, they were very intelligent. They understood and they felt this. And those that they did not see, it says the Mazleu Chazid, deep in their soul, they felt it. Yadu Mitzrayim, the Egyptians knew that I am God. Therefore, this Hayat Tzarich Lasos, that God gave them the 10 plagues was only just to get their attention. Get their attention, to break them up a little bit from their selfishness, their egotism, from their idolatry, and from. Therefore, all this had to be that what the lo bal korcham, not the Egyptians were not forced to give their money, but they gave it within their own free will. They begged the Jews, please take my money. Al bar korcha Israel, against the will of the Jews. I heard a couple of stories. There were a couple of stories. You know, some good things came out of the Holocaust. I mean, it's a terrible thing to say, but in the end, we'll see that everything that was there was good. I don't know how that's going to be, but I heard two stories. There was one Jew, a rich Jew in Germany. There were a lot of rich Jews in Germany, and when there was the depression, it was a tremendous depression in Germany after World War I. All the other countries bled Germany dry. So there was one Jew that he hired a lot of Germans, and he pumped up the economy over there. He had a lot of money, and he became very, very well known, very powerful. And he was just doing good, just did good to people day and night, night and day, kept hospitals open, did everything he could. And there were 3 people that assassinated him. They were like followers of Hitler, whatever it was. Anyway, they couldn't stand to see a Jew. So 2 of them killed him, and one of them was the driver that drove away. So the 2 that killed him, as they caught him, everybody agreed that he was a good person, a beneficial person. And killing him also sort of, how do you say, it shook up the whole foundation, at least whatever there was over there, of that whole area where he was, because he was very, very helpful, tremendous. Anyway, so the one that did the driving, as he escaped. And as it came about, I think they caught him and they put him into jail. And the mother of this guy that was killed, or his wife, the Jew, she said, he was a religious Jew. She said, if you would have known how good a person he was, you would have turned the gun on yourself. And he started looking into it, and he realized this Jew was really a very good person. And he had tremendous regret for what he did, tremendous regret. And his whole rest of his life, he just devoted to helping Jews. He somehow or other got into the government, and he helped like 500, 700, more Jews than the Schindler helped. He helped them to get out of Germany. to the end of his life, he regretted what he did, that he was willing to give everything he had to help the Jews, to help especially those who suffered in the Holocaust. And it was the same thing with the Egyptians. Suddenly they realized that there's something good here and that they're not part of it. They made the Jews suffer because that was the thing. You just made Jews suffer. That was, how do you say, acceptable in Egypt. That was just the thing you did. That was part of the definition of a, like you drive away mosquitoes, you spray the room, you do bad to Jews. That's just suddenly he realized that he's wrong. And he realized that there is God, at least his conscience, whatever it made him do, he realized that what he did was wrong. The same thing here is the Egyptians. Suddenly the Egyptians realized, wow, there's God, and we've done bad to the Jews for absolutely no reason. I just did bad to the Jews because everybody else was doing it. And so they regretted it, and they gave the Jews all of their properties willfully, because they realized it's better to be in the hands of the Jews than to be in the hands of me. Look what I do with it. Moving, so now it's understood regarding to all the future redemptions as well, that they're all going to be similar to the redemption of Egypt until the future redemption. And it says, the prophecy in Micha, like the days of going out of Egypt, I will show you miracles, that this is called Geula, because the whole thing is, number one, Ligoel, to release and to elevate all the things in the exile. That's number one. And number two, right, like taking the mud to make the vessel and to make it into a vessel. And number two, Dav Kal Yadei Avoda, only by means of the exile can there be redemption. Just like only if there is mud can there be a vessel. Right? Only by means of this suffering and this difficult, only by means of that can there be a future redemption. Is it worth it? I don't know. I mean, the way things seem now, certainly not. But when we see the future redemption, we realize that every second of the suffering was worth it, 1,000,000 times worth what we thought. How can it be? We have to understand, in addition to the fact that going out of Egypt was brought by means of God revealing himself in Egypt, Alufo Shalom, putting the Aleph into Gola, and V'yadu, like it says, V'yadu Mitzrayim ki ani Hashem, Egypt will know that I am God. And that this was one of the reasons for the 10 plagues, that to let everyone know that God is the master and the conductor, the director, the producer of the world. This also brought very high things to the Jews. What do you mean to the Jews? The Jews previously, they were the lowest of the low. The Egyptians, they were the most decadent, disgusting people in the world, and the Jews were their slaves. They were even lower. And suddenly the Jews got shot up, right? The Egyptians also, they got elevated. That God himself revealed himself to them and redeemed them. In his honor, in his own self. The essence of Ein Sof Baruch Hu revealed himself to the Jews. Until the whole intention of going out of Egypt was giving the Torah. Like it says, when God said to Moses on the burning bush, the burning bush was, where was it? At Mount Sinai. He said, when I take the Jews out of Egypt, this is before the Jews, right? God was sending Moses to get the Jews out of Egypt. So he said, I'm going to take the Jews out of Egypt and you're going to serve God on this mountain. Hagili da Anochi, this is the revelation of I am God that took you out of Egypt. That's the first of the 10 commandments. In a way that God spoke to the Jews face to face. They all saw God face to face, says. Right? In the book of Deuteronomy, it says. This is even higher than the revelation of what's called that God is the king of the world. God is the king of the world that he showed to the Egyptians when he changed the world. But when God gave the Torah, that was much higher. It's how it is that God is creating the world and conducting it. That's Breshis Bora Elokim. That's how God creates the world. But the Torah is before the world. The Torah is even higher than the world. And that is what was revealed when God took the Jews out of Egypt. As we're going to, well, let's do these. No, we'll do it tomorrow. Okay, we'll do it tomorrow. How much more? That's talking about back then when they got out of Egypt. But what about the future redemption that's supposed to be not in the future, it's supposed to be right now? Oh, then there's really going to be a big revelation of God, even a higher revelation of God, as we're going to talk about more, God willing, tomorrow. Now let's do the Yom Yom. Okay. What happened? No. There it is. There should be for bringers or Hasidic get-togethers. They should be done in shul. Suda Shlish, the third meal of Shabbat Mavorchin. The third meal, and Shabbat Mavorchin. That was this last Shabbat. And the holidays like Rosh Chodesh and other days. But Malava Malka, sometimes they make for bringers after Shabbat. That should be held in private homes of people. Different homes of people. Okay, my friends, see you today at 3:00, and we'll learn Parshat and more. And all the commandments that are found in this Torah portion, over 60 commandments in this Torah portion. And maybe we'll start to learn a little bit of Pirkei Avot. We'll devote maybe 10 minutes, something like that. Pirkei Avot, very, very important. Pirkei Avot, the ethics of the fathers, the great holy wisdom of the rabbis of the Torah. The rabbis that gave what's called the oral Torah, beginning from Moses. See you at 3:00. Have a good day with Moshiach now.